Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Gene with the Hero Academy, and I've got a special video for you this week. Now, if you tune in every week, you know that I typically am talking about business tips, strategy, social media, marketing, and everything in between. But this week, I'm actually going to step aside and allow one of our own heroes from the group to talk about mental health and ways to identify it in our personal and business lives. Her name is Schellie Fan, and she is a licensed therapist and has been doing this for over 2 decades now. And so I'm very excited to have her kind of talk about this. It's something that I've been noticing to kind of come up to be more of an acceptable topic in conversations, both again on the personal side and the business side. And so without further ado, I want to let her talk, and then I will catch up with you guys on the other side and wrap up with you then.
One of the things that I find in this field of psychology, and I'm a licensed psychotherapist and have been for almost 2 decades now, 19 years, is that a lot of the times by the time people end up in my office, they are experiencing full-blown symptomology. And when people hear what I do, they automatically say, "Oh, you work with crazy people?" Right? They automatically assume that my clientele include people who have been diagnosed with severe and persistent mental illnesses. So that includes illnesses such as schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, bipolar mood disorder, depression where people are becoming suicidal, they're a threat to themselves and others. And while I do work with that population, that is not the entire spectrum. Mental illness is on a spectrum, and it could go from being completely healthy to completely dysfunctional in a state hospital without any ability to communicate with others, rocking in a chair, over medicated, what have you. It's a spectrum. And I think that as long as we do not acknowledge that mental illness and emotional disturbances happen on a spectrum, you may count yourself out. So what I find, especially lately, there has been this new trend of clientele that are high achieving men and women. And when I say high achieving men and women, these are business owners, they're go getters, they are running operations, they're supervising staff, they're just trying to make it. And they have gotten to a point where they realize that something is very wrong. There are many people that never get to that place. And when they do get to that place where they realize that something is wrong, they have already lost their marriages, their children are already neglected for many years and acting out. They have lost everything, they're losing their business. And why? How did they get to that point? Well, the vehicle is the problem. I remember when I was when we were preparing for, I don't know which hurricane, there's been so many, but we had this amazing plan to go to Atlanta, and we were going to stay there for a little while. We're going to get out of the way, get out of the city. And we had everything planned. We knew what we were going to do, but the one thing that we didn't plan for was the gas. So we had no vehicle to get there. We are the vehicle to get to that place. And so we tend to forget that. And we're so consumed by the goal and that end goal and the money and all the other things that we want to achieve that we forget that you can't get there without an operating vehicle. And so what are those early warning signs? What are those things that are not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily look like, the man at 7-Eleven that's talking to himself and his arms are, flaring in the air. What are those early warning signs? I remember that there was a time when I believe I was on the turnpike. And I'm just going to be very transparent because that's what I do and that's what I stand for. I think my bra was a little too tight that day. So it made me very conscious of my breathing. And I noticed that I was breathing very fast and very heavy. And I was like, this is weird. The next day, because I was more conscious of it, it happened again. And it happened again. I didn't even realize that these were symptoms of an anxiety attack. The heavy breathing. And so understand that what we may consider very subtle symptomology are all signs that you are breaking down. There are early warning signs to breaking down. And so what do those things look like? Sleep disturbances. We think that it's okay. It's not okay for you to wake up several times at night and not get restful sleep. It's not okay to get 2 to 4 hours of rest and think that you can function. That's not even natural. You may be able to function, good for you, but the consequence to having unnatural sleep cycles is going to take its course. Is going to attack you somewhere, whether it's in your memory, whether it's in your ability to manage your moods, whether it's in your ability to deal with other people because you're so short and your temper is, at a 10, whatever it is, it's gonna find its way out. The fact that you are not getting enough sleep will find its way out. So that's an early warning sign. Sleep disturbances, eating disturbances, where you're not eating balance. So it could be overeating or undereating. And most of the time, we are overeating. We're not even realizing we're eating very unhealthy. We are emotionally eating and not even realizing that we are medicating. We're medicating the stress. We're medicating the how am I going to do it? How am I going to pay my staff? And, just on social media and feeling the pressure of having to keep up with the Joneses and while you're shoving your face. I mean, so emotional eating is an early warning sign. Feeling sad, early warning sign. Feeling like you're alone, that nobody really understands you. And that is something that goes undiagnosed a lot. When you start to think like people just don't get me, they just don't understand, that's how the process of isolation happens. When you start to isolate. And once you isolate, you get to a place where you are fellowshipping with the greatest enemy, and that's yourself. Because your thoughts become negative, you start to get hopeless, you start to judge yourself, you start to self condemn. And so, poor sleep, poor eating, not interacting with others, when you find that you're not necessarily doing the things that you used to love, like, wow, when's the last time I went to the beach? When's the last time I went skating? When's the last time I chilled with my wife? When was the last time I chilled with the girls or the guys? When was the last time I played basketball? When you get to that point when you cannot remember the last time that you did something that you love, that's huge. That's symptom. That's depression. That's anxiety. That's being emotionally unstable. Why? Because doing the things that you love is medicine. We do the things that we love. God gives us the things that we love to keep us well. And so when you're not engaging in that, that's a huge warning sign. Some anxiety, like sweaty palms. Sometimes we just think like, that's just me. I just sweat in my hands. That could be signs of anxiety when you are going to sleep. People say this all the time. I go to sleep and I just can't turn my thoughts off. Your thoughts are racing. That's anxiety. Your brain doesn't get the memo that it's time for us to rest. All of that is anxiety. And there's so many other early warning signs. Not feeling sexually motivated, and you're in a marriage and you're not really feeling it, or overly, and that's a way of trying to, again, self-medicate. These are also signs, early warning signs that something is going on and something needs to be addressed. Understand that they can be very subtle, but the thing about symptomology, as subtle as they may be, even if you are able to function at peak performance, well, what you think is peak performance, understand that it only gets worse when it's unaddressed. It can only get worse. And so even though you're thinking that it's something that I can control, I'm still able to do X, Y, and Z, understand that it gets worse. And sometimes it manifests in different ways. It camouflages, right? So here you have these psychological symptoms that are not being addressed, and you have a receding hairline, hair loss, your bowels are not moving, regularly. So it'll manifest, like it literally kind of, becomes physical, or it doesn't go anywhere. And that's because it doesn't go anywhere. So what are you doing with that energy of instability? What are you doing with that? Because it'll always go somewhere, whether it goes to your bladder, your kidney, your lungs, what have you, your heart, your blood pressure. And so it is very important for us to address those subtle symptomology as early on as possible. And if you want to get in contact with me because you just want to have more of a conversation, you just want to explore, you can reach me at info@askschellie.com. That's info@askschellie.com. And my name is spelled Schellie because my parents think that they are like royalty. Oh, they are, but they are. So anyway, if you want to reach me, email me at info@askschellie.com, and I will reach out to you and let's just have a conversation. It won't hurt. It can only help. And so I do encourage you to reach out.
Hey guys, so thanks for watching. Just wanted to follow back up with one more comment. If you have any follow-up questions for Schellie, she's actually one of our heroes in the group, so you can actually message or leave some comments below in this video, or you can contact her directly if you have any further questions that you'd like to reach out to her for. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you again next week.